Hi, I'm Patrick,
And I'm Liv.
and this is not Blucifer. Blucifer is still in this shop, and we're going to give you an update on what's going on with our Grabber Blue Mustang Mach-E. Let's get started. So before we get started, we want to give a big shout out and thanks to Freeway Ford. They loaned us a Mach-E for a few days. It is a extended range rear wheel drive Mach-E, so it's sort of neat. In February, we got to drive an all-wheel drive standard range. Ours is an all-wheel drive extended range, and now this is a rear wheel drive extended range. So we're getting to test like almost all the Mach-E's, and it's pretty cool.
And really the thing that truly matters to me, at least, is that we get to play with all the different colors. In this case, the Star White is absolutely gorgeous. I didn't think I would love it, but I do.
So anyways, thanks again to Freeway Ford for giving us the loaner. And let's get started on the details of what's going on with Blucifer. For those that don't know, here's a quick summary of what happened. And if you want more details, there's another video I'll link to above as well as down in the description so that you can hear all about it. On Saturday, April 3rd, we were on our way to an EV meetup on I-25 North, and we were in the exit lane for 6th Avenue. That's all here in Denver. And it was stop and go traffic, but the person that came up behind me didn't realize the stop portion of that and rear-ended us, and it was actually a hit and run. They tried to flee the scene, but they were caught. All that part is good. We had significant damage to the Mach-E and had to put it in the shop. Now let's talk about the aftermath of the accident and all the stuff that's been going on since then. Of course, I immediately filed a claim with my own insurance, USAA, to start the repair process. They have an app that I was able to use that basically let me take pictures of all the damage of our Mach-E and submit it for an adjuster to review and create an initial estimate. I thought this would be the fastest way to get it taken care of, and they said that, you know, sometimes you can have an estimate within a few hours. This accident actually happened on Saturday, which was actually the day before Easter. So I think that delayed things, and it took until about Tuesday to get the first initial estimate. And you can see by the pictures that I submitted, you know, there's damage to the rear of the car as you would expect in a rear end collision. And that's what we submitted to USAA for their initial estimate. Let's dive into a breakdown of all the details, and here we go. So some of these numbers are rounded and I left out some of the little details, but overall the biggest expense items for parts were, of course, the rear bumper cover, and that's upper and lower, and the lift gate, which is basically the rear hatch for the Mach-E. All told, they estimated about $3,600 in parts for the repair. So based on their labor estimate, it was going to be $1,177 for that, plus $323 for paint and supplies. Miscellaneous ended up being about $124. And of course, we can't escape the sales tax of $324. And the total estimate was $5,547. Now, right away, I could tell that I didn't think this was going to be a comprehensive estimate. Like, I could see that the tail lights were broken and, you know, a few other items like that, and didn't know what was going to be underneath once they got the cover off of the bumper. So we're on our way to take the car in, and I thought I would document the damage for the channel and for myself. So obviously the worst damage is back here. This is all broken. There's some scuff marks up here. Of course, this is dented in and damaged. You can actually see the crack here in the rear liftgate. So going down inside, let's take a look in here. I haven't really looked in here, but of course we're worried about all of these sensors and things like that in here. I'm worried about the actual latch for the liftgate as well. And then over on the side, you can see it pushed in the rear bumper slightly. So it made contact with the rear quarter panel, so we're worried about that. But it looks like if they replace the rear bumper, the liftgate, and this black stuff down here, and whatever internal parts, we should be as good as new. So of course they did a couple of revised estimates, and then the shop tore down the Mach-E, and here's some of the pictures of that. You can see that they removed everything from the rear of the car, and you could see the guts of the Mach-E. Eventually, they finally revised the estimate up a couple of times, and this is the final estimate that they came up with for the repair of the Mach-E. Nothing has changed since this. Maybe when I finally pick up the car, there may be some tweaks and stuff like that they had to change slightly, but this is what they went off of to start ordering parts. So we still had the rear bumper cover, upper and lower, and you can see those are a bit pricey at $524 and $645. The lift gate, which of course is a pretty big piece of car to have to replace, that was $2,381. The left wheel molding was $452, and that's basically the arch that goes above the wheel on the left rear side. On the first edition, of course, it's the same color as the car, and on other versions of the Mach-E, it is black. The Mustang logo on the back of the hatch is $118, and there's more. Let's go to the next page. I was surprised by this next one. It said the spoiler, and that's like the black part that goes above the, on the top part of the hatch of the Mach-E. Apparently that needed to be replaced. I'm not sure how it was damaged, but it was. So that's $802. And as I mentioned, of course, you could tell that the tail lights were damaged, and luckily it was only the left side tail lights, but that is $862 for the outer part of the tail light, and then it broke the inner part as well, and that's an additional $907. The backup light, which is on the lower portion of the bumper, needed to be replaced. That's an additional $179. And then the final big piece was the impact bar, and this is the bar that goes across the rear of the Mach-E in the back of the car that's underneath the rear bumper, and apparently that was dented, so they are replacing that as well, and that's an even $500. So the initial estimate of $3,600 jumped up to $822 for just parts. Now, if we go into the final total for the estimate, we are adding the $8,022 for parts, plus now labor went up to $1,753. Paint supplies, $483 now, and miscellaneous was $753. There were a lot more bolts and little details like that added to the final estimate, and sales tax jumped up to $746 for a grand total of $11,153 for the repair of the Mach-E. As I said, this is the final estimate. I don't know if anything will be tweaked after this, but this is what the shop went off of to order all the parts. And it took a little while to get to the point to where they could order parts. I believe it was about April 13th, about 10 days after the accident, before they got the final approval from insurance and then started ordering parts. As of right now, when I filmed this, it is now 10th. I still do not have the car back. There are a couple of parts that they were having trouble getting in. The last that I heard is that the parts should be here early this week, and if so, could be by the end of the week that I'll have the car back. But it's all dependent on a couple of bolts, or actually 8 bolts that they need to get in, and a couple other little details. So fingers crossed I'll have it back shortly. Our Mach-E is actually being repaired at a Ford dealer. It's called O'Meara Ford up in North Glen in Colorado. I actually had a choice of where I wanted to take the Mach-E. In Colorado, we're allowed to pick what repair shop we want to use, as long as it's, not outlandish or whatever. So I looked it up, and my insurance has several very local repair shops, and Ford actually has a website, and I'll put a link down below so that you can take a look at where Ford has certified repair shops. Now, what I did is I went ahead and tried to find a dealer that has an in-house auto body repair shop, which is getting more rare these days. But because the Mach-E was so new, I was worried about, would parts be available? Would they know how to reset the system if they had to do that, and set up anything regarding Copilot 360 if that was damaged, all of those type of details. And I think it paid off, because even though O'Meara Ford is having some problems getting the parts in, there is a Ford regional manager and some others that have been assisting them in getting the parts and making sure that everything is tracked. So I think that paid off, and hopefully, give it a couple of months, hopefully your Mach-E won't get damaged. But by that point, the part supply issues will probably be resolved, and you can use, any of the authorized Ford body shops. And there are a ton in this area. So Just something that I was worried about because the Mach-E was new, but I don't think, most of you all will not have to necessarily worry about in the future if you ever have to deal with a body part issue or body work issue. And I have to say, again, O'Meara Ford has been great. When we went to go drop it off, we got there a few minutes early, and it was sort of funny but painful at the same time. But as we, pulled in and parked the car, we were waiting, and the employees of the body shop were showing up, and every single one, you'd see them park and they would walk directly over to the Mach-E to take a look at it, and were just shaking their head. I think they were almost as hurt as much as we were to see a Mach-E with damage on it. One of the employees, apparently he knew the car was coming in and said, I'm going to be the one managing the repair process. Don't worry, it's in good hands. We'll take very good care of it. So that felt very good. And, since then I've been getting updates from Don, who is the receptionist there. It's been very, very good feedback, and let me know what's going on with the parts and everything like that, sending me photos, which here's a photo that they sent me of the rear hatch. It's already been painted and it's ready to go on the car as soon as they get some of the other bits and pieces. But fantastic service from O'Meara Ford, and hopefully I'll get a call in the next day or two that it's going to be ready to be picked up later this week. Fingers crossed. So what have Liv and I been up to since we don't have a Mach-E? Well, we started off with a Tesla Model Y rental, and of course we have a link to that as well, and down in the description. That was a lot of fun. I had that for about 4 days. Was a little bit unsure because there were some questions around the insurance of like what would be covered. So I turned that back in. And since then we've had a Ford Edge, which is great, but it's not EV and it's not a Mach-E. So getting used to that. And we've been doing some test drives of other cars. We test drove a Kia Niro EV, as well as a VW ID4 and an Audi e-tron Sportback. So we have a bunch of videos with reviews, and doing the best that we can to, make content without a Mach-E. Now, some of you asked, why didn't I just get a Mach-E loaner from the dealer for the entire time? And there's a couple of reasons for that. Ford generally doesn't like to loan out their cars for more than 4 days at a time in their courtesy program for the Mach-E. So this obviously was going to be a very long time to have a car. So that was one issue. Plus the fact that this was, somebody was at fault, and their insurance company is the one that is responsible for providing me with a backup vehicle. So they're the ones that are handling that and have provided me with the opportunity to have the Ford Edge for almost the entire time. And hopefully that'll all be taken care of. One of the things that we had an issue with, the driver was actually underage and not sure if he was supposed to be driving the vehicle. Whatever happened, the insurance company did finally assume responsibility, the other driver's insurance company. So we should be all good, which actually leads me into the next question that a lot of people asked, and that is about diminished value for the Mach-E. Because it's been in an accident now, even if it's restored back to its normal state or, prior state, is there any type of diminished value settlement that I can get? And my answer is, I hope so. I should be able to, but the amount and how the process works, I don't know. I've looked it up. I've done a lot of research. Some states like Georgia, they pretty much have like a formula that calculates what your diminished value would be. Other states, like I think Colorado, I may have to get a professional, basically assessment of the situation and then try to negotiate with the other insurance company and potentially have to take them to court because they don't like really giving diminished value. So I'm not really sure. If you have any experience in dealing with diminished value after an accident, I would love to hear that. Most of my research was had a lot to deal with injury accidents, and of course this was a non-injury accident. Liv and I were sore for about a day, but that's about it. So we're having trouble finding a lot of information about dealing with like diminished value and other issues that we've had related to the accident that don't qualify for like an injury accident settlement where you can sort of get, pain and suffering, that type of thing. We just want what should be due to us. The car may be or will likely be worth less now because it's been in an accident. We had to miss a little bit of time from work dealing with, dropping the car off and those type of things. So if you have any experience with diminished value or any of those other things, let us know in the comments or shoot me an email at patrick@machevlog.com. I would love to hear from you and get any advice, or if you have any resources, would love to hear all about that. A couple of people asked about, why did I file with my insurance company if it was the other person's fault? Well, first of all, like I said, I was worried that that he may not be covered because I think he was underage on a learner's permit. There's, some issues around that. And I've also had almost a identical situation a few years ago where I got rear-ended on a freeway, and the person that rear-ended me looked like they were covered. They gave me their insurance information. They were actually in a company vehicle, and I thought everything was taken care of. Well, it turns out he was a brand new employee. They didn't do the proper paperwork to add him to the insurance, so the insurance was denying his coverage, and I didn't actually end up knowing anything about it for almost 2 years because my insurance company took all that into consideration. They did the repairs on my vehicle, waived my deductible because the other person was at fault. But then when the other insurance company denied coverage, they ended up suing the company that did not do the proper paperwork to add the guy to the insurance. And they basically took care of everything. Like I submitted all of my paperwork of, what the damages were. And then they had, when they were doing the settlement, they asked like, did I have any doctor's bills or anything like that? So I submitted everything that I wanted to them. They covered everything without any issues. But what I didn't know is on the backside that they went out and sued the other company to recover the damages for my vehicle and the other, little stuff like the rental car. So that's one of the reasons, like, I just feel like it's just a better way of like, I don't have to deal with all that hassle and, negotiating and all of that other good stuff. They're the ones that are responsible for that, and they take care of it for me. And another bonus is because they are doing the repair and have paid for the repair, they also guarantee that repair for the lifetime of the vehicle. So 3, 4, 5 years from now, like if the hatch is, making a weird, funny noise, I can take it back to a shop and deal with my insurance and say, like, this was never repaired properly, and they'll help me out with that type of stuff. So you do whatever you think is appropriate. Some people, don't want to report to their own insurance because they're worried about their insurance rate, which is a possibility in certain states. Again, for me, it just like I didn't want to have any hassles or headache, and I just wanted to get the car repaired as soon as possible. So that's really all that I have for the update right now. It feels like nothing's really happened because I dropped the car off and now I just got to go pick it up whenever it's fixed. Feels like it's been forever, but really all told, from the date that they were able to start ordering parts until now, it's been just over 3 weeks. So it's sort of understandable because it's so new, but I'm very anxious to get back in the car and making more Mach-E content. We have our trip that was scheduled last weekend. We have now rescheduled for this weekend. Fingers crossed for that as well, that we get to go take that, but we'll just have to wait and see. So anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want another update once the repairs are finalized and complete, let me know. I'll consider doing another one of those. I'm planning on it, but just let me know what you think. And thanks again for subscribing. If you haven't already, click the bell notification icon so that way you get notified as soon as we release new videos. And again, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.